Throne of Liberty is an amazing game, but the game is sometimes a little unnecessarily complex. But don't you worry, I've compiled 100 tips for you. These tips include the best settings for targeting in PvP, how the blocking system works, how you upgrade your gear without losing material, and so on. So just everything for you to need as prepared as possible. So let's go! At the beginning you are defining your class by the 2 weapons that you are equipping. Each weapon comes with a set of active and passive spots. You can only use 12 active and 8 passive skills, which in the end define your class. Each weapon combination can be viable in PvE and PvP. Of course, there are some classes that are better in certain content, so some are better in small scale, some are better in large scale, or some are just better in dungeons. But you can make everything viable in any content somehow. Don't rush to level 50 if you are not a hardcore PvP player. There's almost no benefit for your progression if you are just one day earlier level 50. So don't feel forced to rush to level 50. Now let's talk a little bit about trading and Lucent. In Throne of Liberty you are not able to directly trade with the other players. All trading goes over the player-driven auction house, and here you will only trade with the currency Lucent. You can get Lucent by buying it directly from Amazon, participating in the Castle Siege, and selling items on the marketplace. The best way to make Lucent as a free-to-play player is by selling items on the auction house. So you get items through different content and sell them the items on the auction house. Not all items can be sold on the marketplace. You will always see a small marketplace symbol if you hold on the item, which tells you then if you can sell the item or not. But you can create a trade extraction from each item which can be sold then on the auction house. Trade extractions I will explain later more in detail. For now it's just important that some items can be sold directly and some not. Items that you can craft can either be a great success or just a success. Great success items you can directly sell on the marketplace, and standard ones you have to do trade extraction first. If you are fine being a little bit behind in the early game, I would highly suggest you to sell a lot of items in the early game, because prices will be of course really high at the beginning. So if you are not a sweaty hardcore PvP player, just sell all your items at the beginning. Lucent is linked between all your characters, so you can earn Lucent on your ult and use it on your main. So there is not only the currency Lucent. Sollant is the other main currency. It is used for all interactions with NPCs, like crafting fees, upgrading fees, and so on. One of the best ways to farm Sollant is by killing elite monsters in the open world dungeons. Open world dungeons are just nice looking places with a bunch of elite monsters. For each kill in an open world dungeon you will consume so-called abyssal contract tokens. While you still have those tokens, you are blessed with way more items and way more Sollant in those open world dungeons. So if you have the time, always try to use all of your abyssal contract tokens. Another way for easy and fast Sollant is to sell rubrics, Marint, Emerald or Stallions. They all give you a lot of Sollant when you are selling them. These you can also farm in open world dungeons. But you could also sell them on the auction house and earn Lucent with that. So either you want some fast Sollant or just a little more Lucent. That's completely up to you. Okay, now let's talk about the main things you will be doing to progress your character. First thing you need to understand is that not all the content will be directly available. So maybe after a few days we are getting a new wall boss, then a new dungeon, then extending the open world dungeons and so on. So you should always try to do your daily dungeons. You will get each day 900 dungeon points. You will consume them by looting a chest at the end of the dungeon. Each chest costs you 300 dungeon points. So you can each day open 3 of those chests. But you don't have to do them daily. You can stack your dungeon points for 5 days, so till you have 4500 points. So you will get a lot of useful loot here. Either you can use the item drops or you sell the trade extraction on the marketplace. Whatever you do, it's just really important for your progression that you do your daily dungeons. Okay, let's come to the daily and weekly contracts. Okay, so you should always do your daily contracts, because they give you a lot of useful material for leveling your gear. So daily contracts are just simple kill quests in the open world. You can get them from the contract manager, which can be found in each city. Each day you can do 10 daily contracts, but again you don't have to do them each day. You can also save them up till you have 60 of them. But important here, do your daily contracts always in the level 50 areas, because they give you more and better quality resources. In addition, you should always do your weekly contracts. Weekly contracts can be bought at the Sunrise Merchant in each city. You can stack them up as much as you want. These are also simple kill quests but in open world dungeons, where you have only elite monsters. But don't worry, there will always be groups of people doing those kind of quests. But again, these will provide you with a lot of good items that you can sell on the marketplace. Gate Ifinity bosses. These are bosses that you can fight solo. You will have 2 different bosses each week, which will provide you with free material for upgrading all of your skills. Also something you should try to do every week. Next up, the open world events. If you go to the map, and then you can see on the left side the calendar with all the upcoming events. These events are either world bosses or dynamic events. There will be always a PvP and a PvE variant of this event. So for world bosses, don't expect here high drop chances of those items. Additionally, depending on the setting here of your guild, the items may not go directly into your inventory, but directly to your guild. And then the guild can decide what happens with the loot between the members who participated on the world boss. In dynamic events, you are competing against other players to kill monsters as fast as possible. So really nothing special. It's just important that the PvP variant is giving better rewards. So don't be scared to go to those PvP events, even if you're a complete beginner, because you will always be slotted randomly into one of 3 teams. So you don't have to do any solo action or whatsoever. It's similar like Battlegrounds, you know, from other MMOs, just with way more people, more chaos and in the open world. Now we talked about the main daily content that we will be doing. Now let's talk about the progression of our character. Starting here with the skills, you can upgrade each individual active and passive skill, from common to rare to epic. Each quality has again 5 different levels. Important here, focus first on bringing all your skills to epic 1, so all the skills that you're actually using. Don't bother too much of getting them to epic level 5, because especially for all of the damage spells it's not really important. At level 15 you will unlock a skill specialization system, which allows you to upgrade all of your active skills. As you level, you will unlock more and more skill points till you have 100 points at level 50. Feel free to experiment here, because reskilling costs absolutely nothing. Okay, let's come to the Masteries. The Masteries are the way how you are leveling your weapons. You can do this through each content you do in the game. Important here is that you can do the content with one weapon combo, but use the experience for another weapon combo. And what is also really important here is that your Masteries are only active if you are currently holding the weapon. So for example, if you use a spell from a greatsword, then the Mastery from the greatsword is also active. So it's really important that you always level both of your Masteries. Okay, let's come to gear leveling now. At the beginning there are 4 different types of quality of gear: common, uncommon, rare and epic. Rare and epic gear can be leveled to level 9, common to level 6 and uncommon can't be leveled. You can level up each gear piece individually. Through that the stats on the items are getting better. For leveling you will have to craft grow stones. The material for those you will mostly get through doing your daily contracts. That's why doing those is just really important. Okay, now you can also transfer the experience from one item into another item. So for example, a green item can be transferred into a blue item, a blue into an epic one and so on. So you can use the progress on your current item for your new item. But in the process the old item is always being destroyed. You can not only transfer the experience into a higher tier, but also to the tier of the same level. Here you are not losing any experience in the process. You can also transfer between all weapons, bow into greatsword, wand into staff and so on. So maybe you want to change your weapon combination while you're leveling. This is absolutely no problem. But for armor it always needs to be the same type, so you can transfer a helm into a helm, a chest into a chest and so on. Important here is that you can always only transfer once into an item. So let's say you have a blue bow and you transfer that into your new epic bow. Then you can never transfer into this epic bow again. If you have the item equipped, you can't transfer the item into another one. So if you want to transfer, make always sure to unequip the item before. This one is just really important. If you want to transfer from green into blue or blue into epic, make sure to always level the item to max level first. The invested experience in the lower quality item has more value. And since you can only transfer once, just try to max out your lower tier always first before you are transferring. So get your green items to level 6 and get your blue items to level 9. Okay, let's come to trading. Items can be traded with additional stats, which are called traits. Depending on the quality of the item, you can have more traits on an item, but the quality of the trait will always stay the same. Each gear piece can have a different set of traits, so not all chests or all boots have the same trait possibilities. So always keep that in mind. But some traits are more common on certain armor types, like attack speed on gloves or cooldown speed on helmets. The item always starts with one trait when it's generated by the game, so when it drops in a dungeon or is being crafted. Now, to further trade an item, there are different rules on changing, unlocking or adding new traits. So you could either need the exact same item to unlock a new trait on an armor piece, or maybe the item just needs to be from the same type, and so on. We don't go here into much detail now, but here you have a spreadsheet with all the information for that. It's actually kinda sad that you actually need a spreadsheet for that, but yeah, it is what it is. But generally for enchanting you can use items from the same tier or lower. If you use items from the same tier for trading, you have a 100% chance to guarantee the trade upgrade. But you can also gamble the upgrade by using a lower tier item. If you gamble, you only have a 10% chance to hit the upgrade. If you fail a trade upgrade, you are getting so-called blessing points, which can be used to higher the chance for the next gambling attempt. The nice thing is that you can save those blessing points. If you failed 12 times, you can guarantee a 100% success. Only use your blessing points when you can guarantee the upgrade. Don't use it at 98% and then fail. For trading an item, you can either use the trade extractions, which we have talked about at the beginning, or full items. For the trading process itself, a trade extraction is as good as a normal item. There's completely no difference, but only for that you can't wear the trade extraction or whatsoever. As soon as you started leveling or trading an item, you can't use it for trading another item anymore. So let's say you leveled your item to level 3, then you can't use it to trade another item anymore. If you're transferring an item, you lose all your trades on the item, but you transfer the blessing. Really important to understand, if you have a full traded blue item and you transfer it into an epic one, you will lose all the trades. So only the experience from the item and the blessing will be transferred into the new one. If you want to filter the auction house for a specific trade, you can simply click on the trade list symbol on your item and then click on the auction house symbol next to the trade you are searching for. It automatically filters the auction house for this trade for the armor type. Trades are just really important, and blue items traded are always better than non-traded epic items. So just because you have an epic drop doesn't mean you should use it. Especially in PvP, you will stay here for quite a bit on blue items. Okay, now let's talk about stats in Throne and Liberty, because you have to understand here some key aspects of the game. In TL you have a lot of different stats. You have base stats, your typical strengths, dexterity and so on. And you have specific stats like evasion, hits, critical hits. Okay, so base stats have powerful thresholds that you want to reach that can boost your character significantly. Trying to build your gear around those thresholds is important. Additionally, base stats are influencing all of your specific stats like hits, critical hit and so on, but also your base damage. Base damage is generally super important because it defines the basis of all of your spell attacks. So the spell always multiplies the base damage with a certain factor. If you are not critting, your damage rolls between your min and your max damage. If you are critting, it uses always the max damage. Critical hit highs the chance of you critting, and endurance lowers the chance of your enemy critting you. Evasion on the other hand lets you dodge a complete spell from an enemy. Not only the damage but also the effect of it. So there could be a CC spell or just a debuff or whatever. And hit reduces the chance of your enemy evading your attacks. So you have crit and endurance and evasion and hit. These are your two major defensive stats in the game. Endurance and evasion. Either you stack evasion or endurance, never both. Try to focus here always on two attack types. So for example, magic evasion and ranged evasion. If you don't know what you are doing, it's just easier to go for endurance, because you will always need quite a bit of evasion to make it actually useful. Heavily stack hit as a PvP player to counter evasion, otherwise you will just not be able to hit people, and this will feel for sure not so nice. The most broken stat is heavy attack chance, which gives you a chance to deal double damage. so it just doubles the damage of a spell. This, by the way, also counts for heals. Attack speed makes that your spells come faster out and the channel time of your spells is shorter. You will be able to do all of your combos way faster with a lot of attack speed. Also just a really powerful stat. Skill damage boost not only makes your spells stronger, but also your heals. Most stats in TL have heavy diminishing returns, so stacking too much from a stat is in most cases not good. Except for endurance and evasion, here stack as much as you can. Movement speed also lets you jump higher. Not relevant, but it's funny. Shields have additionally a chance to block the incoming damage by 40%. And this shield block chance can differ between different sword and shields. Dagger and crossbow have an offhand weapon chance, which gives them the chance to do a spell once with one hand and one more time with the other hand, which of course can be also really powerful. Generally, for all PvE players, heavily focus on offensive stats. Don't focus too much on defensive stats, because for the most part they are just pretty useless, especially in tier 1 dungeons. One other major aspect of the game is the blocking system, and for that we also have a stamina bar. So for this we have to understand that there are two different types of special attacks that can be done by monsters or players. So we have fury attacks and wrath attacks. In PvE, fury attacks are signaled by a pink circle and wrath attacks by a pink square. They are getting always smaller and smaller and signaling you when you have to block. In PvE you won't have the wrath attacks for the first few months. Okay, now you also have two different types of blocks. You have movement blocks and stand blocks. So your block button is by default Q. If you are in movement and press the Q button, then you're doing a movement block. And if you are standing still, then you're doing a stand block. So the stand block only blocks fury attacks, and the movement block blocks fury and wrath attacks. To block in PvE a fury attack, you can use both blocks, but wrath attacks you have to block with a movement block. In PvP, most of the CC spells are fury attacks, and some of those are wrath attacks. If you hold on the skill description, you can see what it is. Of course, in PvP they won't be signaled you by some kind of a pink circle or so. Okay, but blocking is not only blocking the special attacks, it's like an iframe. You block also all other incoming damage for a short period of time. So while you're in your block animation, you're blocking all incoming damage. You need a minimum of your stamina bar to actually use your block, which is always signaled by this little marker on your stamina. You define your block in your weapon skill out. All blocks come here with different effects, because those special attacks, the fury and the wrath attacks, can be blocked either good or perfectly. Depending on how good you block and which block you use, you will be gaining different effects and bonuses. Additionally, not all blocks last for the same amount of time, so some might have more iframes than others. When you are getting damage in your block, it also consumes additional stamina. So if you are blocking a lot of damage, then your stamina will be empty afterwards. But even if your stamina is directly empty, the block will never be cancelled. Okay, let's come to Guardians. These are like your ultimate skills that give you a certain effect for 30 seconds. Of course they're really strong, but they have also a 10-minute cooldown. For PvE you always use the Shade Revenant Steno, just because it deals the most damage. It doesn't matter who you are, a tank, a heal, a damage dealer, you will always use this Guardian. For PvP you will mostly use Lady Knight Commercia for most range classes and Green Ranger Elovine for all melee classes. Lady Knight Commercia gives you just a really nice shield, and Green Ranger Elovine just binds all players for 5 seconds around you. Both just really powerful and in most cases always the best choice. Okay, let's come to the Lithograph Book. Here you can throw items in which you don't need anymore. If you do that, the item is being destroyed. But if you complete a row, it will always give you some nice rewards. And in the early game you can get you really good items. Okay, now let's come to the Amitois. These are your small little followers that automatically heal you during fights. For those you need so-called wall tree leaves, which you can buy in each city. In PvP events always change the setting when the Amitoi should start healing you. Go to settings, gameplay, control, scroll down and change the setting to 100%. So he starts healing you as soon as you're losing life. If you collect different kind of Amitoi, you will get small bonuses like a little bit more Sollant and similar. In Throne of Liberty there are no mounts in the game. You have different kind of forms you can transform in. You have a dash form, a swimming form and a gliding form. They can be freely used in combat, but then they are consuming additional stamina. Through collecting different morph skins, you can level the different morph types, which again give you smaller bonuses in those forms. Shapeshifting allows you to transform into different types of monsters. While you are such a monster, you cannot use any spells or just in general not fight. You can only move around. And one of the major benefits, besides looking really nice, is that you can transform into the same type as other monsters in the open world. What happens then is that these monsters won't attack you anymore. And these can be really nice in open world dungeons where you have so many elite monsters. Okay, next we have to talk shortly about the settings. First, if you want to have a quick cast for all of your AoE spells, go to your settings, gameplay, controls and turn on easy direction location designated skills. To maximize FPS in large scale PvP without just lowering the overall graphic settings, always put shadow quality and ambient occlusion to low. Additionally, always turn off hair strands. These are by far the most critical settings when it comes to large scale PvP. To get a better overview in large scale PvP, go to gameplay, character, scroll a little down and here turn on user settings. Now you turn off name and health for friendly player characters. So now it will show us the health bars of all of our enemies, but not show the health bars of all of your teammates, which gives you just a way better overview in large scale PvP. Okay, now go to target selection. So target selection defines who you target if you press tab. For PvP, I would suggest you to go here for target selection control when pressing the mouse button, then search by priority and uncheck everything except hostile guild, feud players and hostile players. Of course, every player has his own preferences, but this is for sure a good starting point. For PvE, you can simply switch this back to search by distance. For auto target when attacking, I would do here the exact same. So go for search by order of priority and uncheck everything except those three. I also like to activate prioritize mouse cursor target, which just allows you for way faster and better target swapping in fights. Okay, now let's come to guilds. Having an active guild is just really important in Throne of Liberty. A lot of PvP content, 50 vs 50 and so on, is locked behind guilds. Additionally, the guild will help your progression immensely. If your guild is active in events, you will get here additional loot, which will help you immensely to progress your character. In addition, you will do as a guild up to 7 different raids in a week. These raids are more or less different open world bosses. So if you need loot from a world boss for your build, you more or less will need a guild for that. Also, you can donate each hour resources to your guild, which provides you with a guild currency, which lets you buy healing potions, mana potions and other useful stuff. But important here, look for a good and serious guild, because the leaders are able to distribute all of the loot between the members. So there are for sure guilds who abuse new players. Okay, just 4 more tips. First, you can lock your items by clicking on the small locking symbol on the item. I know that a lot of people in Korea didn't know that for a long time. You can dissolve all of the upgrade material and in general most of the crafting material to get the lower tier version. Usually that's always a 1:5 ratio. If you want to upgrade the material from the lower tier to a higher tier, you have to go to a crafter where you can do that for the same ratio. Okay, so if you don't know where you get an item from or the guardian or whatsoever, there's always this button how to acquire, which always shows you where you can farm the item or which quest you have to do and so on. And the last tip, just have fun and enjoy the game, whatever that means for you. The game has already a lot of content for different types of players. I know the game can be complex, but this will give it additionally a nice depth and itemization and just a variety of different builds you can go for. Of course, not all the systems are really beginner friendly, but after a while you will get used to it and you're gonna be fine. So I just hope you will enjoy the game as much as I do. Okay, that's it. My 100 tips which I took mostly out of my guides. So if you want more details to all of the systems, then feel free to have a look on all my beginner guides. If you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching and see ya in the next one.